Behind the mask of the other, Bulga, with the power to create, to root, and to merge. All shapes there to inhabit, all geometries there to unfold, a crowned head overlooking process. And they sang, sealed as one. Oh, you haven't left me. This is good. You caught me reading the Solder zine. Basically, sort of a zine, a magazine created by Par Boostrom and his sister Asia, which is basically like sort of an insight into their world, information about their projects, their art, studio notes, things like that. And this came out a few months ago, and it also came with the Bonini Bulga cassette tape, which is a new project from Par. Par Boostrom is probably one of the most important dark ambient musicians ever. This is a guy that's been going at it since the late 90s. And he debuted around 2003 with his album Asleep and Well Hidden, but had already become somewhat known a year earlier on the Nord Ambient Alliance compilation. Makes, I would say, absolutely some of the most perfect dark ambient soundscapes ever conceived. I first came across Kemar Heights, his first project, back in, I would say, 2004, probably. And at the time, it was absolutely just something that resonated with me in a way that I can't even explain. I could put his music on and just leave this world and go to a better place, I guess. Even though the music was dark and had this sort of actually haunting, melancholy vibe to it, it just really spoke to me in a way like some music just had never really spoken to me before. And, thinking back to that time frame in my life, I was extremely depressed. I was not doing well. I was on antidepressants. I was feeling pretty bleak about a lot of things. And music like Kemar Heights and just, anything, in that sort of as fashion, it just really helped me in those times. I can't really explain it, but it's like you needed the darkness and the light to sort of balance yourself out. And it just all really coalesced and made sense back in those days. And I was able to survive all the shit I was going through. And, a lot of it was just, I think teenage angst that would carry into my early 20s. But, it was just one of those things I think a lot of people go through. And, music saved me back in those days. I used to think about that kind of shit a lot, about, okay, well, if I took my life, would I ever be able to hear this wonderful music again? And, me and Par first made contact a few months ago, and it was sort of just a random thing. He was asking me a question about a tape service I had used because he was thinking about making a tape of his own for some of his music, and from there it just sort of blossomed into this relationship. And we occasionally, talk, and we've even shared some personal information. And I found out in like a short while that he's just a really genuinely awesome guy. And, finding just genuinely awesome human beings these days is a rarity. And this guy, Par Boostrom, he's one of those guys. He's just really friendly. He's modest about his music. There's no arrogance. And, he's a great guy. And, after we'd kind of talked and I shared some of my music with him, he got into it and he enjoyed it. So I asked him about doing a trade. And, I sent him several Noctilucant releases, and he sent me a bunch of his releases from Kemar Heights and all of his various side projects he's got going. So I thought about, making this whole episode just talking about these projects, but I just wanted to kind of split up into a couple episodes. So at least for this sixth episode, I'm going to just talk about two of those releases that he sent me, and then we'll kind of go from there in future episodes, because he sent me like six albums altogether, I think, or something like that. I have to check again. But it'll be a process to go through them all, and I'm definitely going to do them all, because I'm so grateful for you sending those to me, Par. It's amazing music, and I've listened to it obsessively since you sent them to me, and I can only hope that the music that, I sent you was, half as good. I mean, really hope. But really, truly, it means the world to me that you send that music to me, and again, you're just a fantastic dude, so thank you so much for doing that. So to start off, we'll talk about one of those newer projects from Par. It's called Bonini Bulga. And it's a really interesting project. It has kind of some vibes similar to Kemar Heights, but this music is much more, I would say, like hypnotic, meditative, and just kind of really dreary and mysterious sounding. It really kind of conjures up these feelings of just like being in this kind of like, I don't know, I created this mental picture of just like kind of wandering around in like this foggy field at night. And it's just like seeing fog everywhere, just mysterious kind of, strange beings everywhere, ghosts perhaps. It really was the vibe I got when listening to this record. And so I got both the cassette version and the re-release by Cyclic Law. And both packages are absolutely beautiful. And this is just some really great stuff right here. So I'm going to show you this in a minute, but I just want to tell a quick story too. So the first time I was listening to this record, I was actually sitting on the couch reading. And as I often do when reading, I just sort of accidentally fell asleep and fell asleep, and I continued to hear the music, of course, because I was sort of that weird state of being half awake, half asleep, and I had this strange kind of, I don't know if it was like a ghostly vision or something, but I had this weird experience where I felt like something was in the room with me, and it wasn't my girlfriend because she was sleeping, so it wasn't that. I just had this weird experience of, like, while listening to this album, that there was this ghost in the room with me looking down at me. So I don't know if that was like some weird out of body experience or what, but this music, added a really interesting atmosphere to that, and it was a strange soundtrack to this experience, which was probably just a dream, but, I've had ghostly experiences before, so I never rule anything out. That was that, and, I've continued to listen to this album since then, and I really love it, and great stuff, just great, just really deep, meditative, and just really just otherworldly sounding stuff, and Parr's always just really unique style, and just really nails it, every release he does. He's just so passionate, just a master at this stuff, and Bonini Bulga is another just brilliant project, and I really look forward to see what he comes up in the future with this project. Okay, so as I said, Parr sent me both the cassette version and the CD re-release version by Cyclic Law. So I'll just show you the cassette version first. It comes in this basically like homemade. Well, I don't know if it's homemade, but it's different. That it's not a shell. It's basically just made out of paper, and it just opens up like so. And within there's a Hypnagoga business card. The cassette tape itself, of course, side A and B. And then here's a little bit better look at the packaging too. Kind of just look at it, you can check that out. Cool. Definitely different from a normal shell, but that you get with cassette tapes. There's always a potential that could get damaged, of course, but it's still, I like unique stuff, so obviously it's more appealing to me. And there's a little story of Bonini Bulga and some really cool artwork to go along with it, of course. Yep, really cool stuff. So that's the cassette version. I haven't actually listened to the cassette tape yet because I'm freakishly afraid that it's going to get stuck in my really crappy cassette player, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to have to upgrade that one of these days, as I keep saying I'm going to, but until then, I guess I'll just not listen to that and stick to the CD. So the CD is, it obviously mirrors the cassette release with the artwork and all that, the visual layouts. There's a little info sheet similar to the one in the cassette. And then, I love it because it comes in this sort of fold-out, cross-shaped like digipack, which it's remarkably similar to a old release from a band called Catatonia on their album Last Fair Deal Gone Down, which is one of my all-time favorite albums as well. So it's really cool that it's got that same kind of visual look on the digipack. I love that. I just love these digipacks that fold out like this. And there's the back. So super cool stuff, and if you can get your hands on this album, definitely do so. The only problem where it becomes something of a problem is that if you live in the United States, you're going to have to pay a little extra for shipping, and it's in Euro prices. So that's also kind of the reason why I was so happy that Parr wanted to do the trade with me, because it just saved me all the trouble of going through all that conversions and all that stuff, and so it's just super awesome.